Right here is an example of my schedule from college. You wouldn't believe how incredibly packed an undergraduate schedule is at Juilliard. From morning until night, I have music theory, ear training, chamber music, percussion ensemble, lesson with this person, lesson with that person, composer's reading, orchestra rehearsal. Every day was just packed to the bone. And when you have something coming up like an audition or you have some live performance coming up that you have to do well on, it's hard to balance doing all the work for those classes and various things and actually going to them while at the same time putting enough energy into the audition or the particular project that you're working on. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 ways to practice more efficiently during college or busy times, or if you have a job or whatever makes you busy. How to practice more efficiently and use your time smarter. And if you want some more guidance on how to prepare for auditions, you should download my audition cheat sheet, which is a 5-step guide to preparing for auditions from the day you get the list until the day of the audition. And it's not instrument specific, anyone can use it. So being busy is not necessarily a bad thing. Having a deadline and having less time will force you to build skill. And when you're in the middle of all of this, you're gonna have to make the decision. How are you gonna prioritize your time? And it comes down to this: your life mission decides how you prioritize. If you must win an orchestra job one day, even though you have all this other crazy stuff happening, you're gonna decide to work on your lesson more over working on singing intervals for your ear training class. So the first way to practice more efficiently is to have a task to complete rather than just going into the room for general practice. If you go into the practice room, you have a couple hours and you have a giant pile of music on the stand and you know you have to prepare for all these various things, then it's overwhelming to know where to start. But if you go into the room and you know that you only have 3 measures to prepare, 3 important measures, that's what you're doing right now. There will be other practice sessions and other days where you work on the other stuff, but for now it's a finite amount of music and a project that you can sink your teeth into and actually complete. There's no way you can let yourself focus solely on 2 lines of music, for instance, now, if you have no idea when to work on your other music. But if you schedule in each of your various 2 lines of music, then you can make a strategic decision. You're gonna say, I'm gonna practice these various 10 lines of music over the next 3 days, and unfortunately, I'm not gonna get to this other 2 or 3 pages for some other thing. Second thing you could do: have something that draws you into the room. If I'm scared of practicing, I'll use any excuse to not start practicing. I'll say, oh yeah, I have to clean my apartment. Oh yeah, I have to go print out those scores from the library. But if every day your practice session starts with watching the next episode of Lost, like it does for me, because I do my warm-up while I'm watching TV, always, then it literally draws me into the room. The feeling of, I wonder what's happening next in Lost, is enough to make me say, okay, I'm gonna go start practicing because I wanna find out. The third tip is to make lots of lists. One problem with practicing is being overwhelmed. You're practicing something and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this one thing. I forgot to work on my performance class music. I forgot to learn the last 3 lines of my excerpt. I forgot that my recital is tomorrow. If you make a list of all the things you have to do, first of all, it gets those things out of your head and onto a piece of paper. You don't have to worry about remembering them because you know you listed them all out. It's right there. It also gives you an awareness of the full scope of what you have to do. It helps you decide, do I really have time to work on this thing all day today? It gives you an awareness of your full responsibilities, and it will allow you to more fully focus on the task at hand. Tip number 4, rethink your minimum practice session length. Say that you have a bunch of classes throughout the day, but you have little blocks of time here and there. You don't have to feel like every time you go to pick up your instrument, like you have to do some kind of warm-up or scales or long tones or whatever. Maybe you do 1 warm-up a day at the beginning of the day. Think of your instrument as a new version of your speaking voice. Someone calls on you to do some reading out loud in class. You don't say, excuse me, I have to go into the other room and like talk for 10 minutes before I can speak in front of the class. No, you just start talking. It's part of your language. It's part of who you are. Your instrument is like that too. Of course you need to do warm-ups to build technique so that you don't get injured, etc. But you don't need to do that every single practice session. The best way to start a practice session, especially if you've already done a warm-up that day, is just to go straight to your to-do list, to go straight to the first thing that you have to do so that you can knock off an actual to-do and be more likely to get to the next one and the next one and the next one. Tip number 5 is to continually redesign and rethink your perfect day. I would do this at at the beginning of every semester. I would say, okay, I know I wasted all this time last semester, but this semester, every day is going to be perfect. I'm going to exercise for this amount of the day. I'm going to practice for this amount on snare drum, for this amount on xylophone. I'm going to make sure to do all that sight reading work that I've been putting off. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do all those long roll exercises that I know I've always needed to. I'm going to do more mock auditions. I'm going to do all my music history homework. I'm going to do all my classwork from 10:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. so that I stay on top of everything. It never actually works, but at least you try. At least you're giving yourself the opportunity to look back at what you did and to think about what's possible, what way you could set up your schedule so that you can rethink and make adjustments, positive adjustments and improvements to your day in order to be more efficient with them. Don't let anyone control your day except for you based on your life priorities. Tip number 6, and this is an interesting one. You should have fully focused and non-focused work ready to go. Here's the thing, on your to-do list, there's going to be a lot of different types of work. You're going to be continually switching between pieces. The type of actual process or metronome work that you're going to actually do to those pieces is going to be different. Sometimes you'll be doing recording of yourself. Sometimes you'll be doing metronome work. When you get tired, you want to have the option of going to some other productive thing that doesn't take as much mental energy as the thing that's sapping your mental energy right now. I have some processes in my practicing that I know take slightly less mental focus. For instance, certain types of technique work for me, I know are more productive when I actually don't fully focus on them. Sometimes I have to marathon things and let my hands themselves find the more efficient ways to play them. When I'm developing my grip for certain kinds of playing, when I'm working on a technical exercise, those take less mental energy and I want to have those things to revert to. I just want to save the times when I'm fully mentally conscious for the things that take the most mental energy. It takes more energy to switch activities than it does to continue the same activity but for different music. If you're self-recording one excerpt, it's easier to go to another excerpt and self-record that because you're just continuing the same process, playing a measure, listening back to the measure, making improvements on the measure, going from self-recording to metronome work. It takes more energy to set up the metronome and begin working on a new style of practice than it does to just continue the style of practice that you're working on right now. Basically, your body, your mind, your life is a tool and you have to learn how to wield it. You have to learn how to use your mind in order to have a bigger output of music that's more completely learned using the time that you have. And it's up to you to figure out and experiment with new methods in order to achieve more productivity. Speaking of processes, I have developed a process for preparing for an audition from the day you get the list to the day of the audition so that you know the phases of work that need to go into each excerpt so that you're not skipping excerpts, so that you know you're practicing excerpts in the same way that professionals work on excerpts in order to get ready for their audition. You can download my audition cheat sheet, which is this audition preparation process, at robknopper.com/audition cheat sheet. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.